I've heard a few stories lately about people either getting burned by a financial advisor or maybe just finding out about some regulatory blemishes in the financial advisor or financial planner's background, and that makes them uncomfortable. So I'd like to share some pointers on how you can find out about these things early and easily. So that's what we'll go over in the next couple of minutes here. We'll look at ways to research an advisor, how to find somebody, certain things to look for, as well as some tips on just how to informally figure out what's going on. A lot of people go by word of mouth, and that certainly makes sense. If there are people in your area or that you have exposure to frequently, it may seem like that's a trustworthy person that you can work with. After all, they're kind of like you, so maybe they would be a good fit for you. In some cases, that's perfectly fine, but you really still need to do some research, even if you get great reviews of a particular person. Doing that research can help you sleep better at night, help you avoid buyer's remorse, and help you avoid some serious financial problems. Keep in mind that Bernie Madoff's epic Ponzi scheme was based on word of mouth, so this is information from an association of state securities regulators, and they review what happened with the Madoff Ponzi scheme. And in fact, word of mouth was a really big factor in this whole event. The fact is that your friends might not know much more about all this stuff than you do. So even if they give you some names, it's really important to check into who you're thinking of working with. So how exactly do you do that research? Let's start with some formal regulatory databases where you can look up a potential financial advisor. And a good first step is to just make sure that these people exist and have the licenses or registrations that they're supposed to have to offer the services that they are going to be offering. A good first step is broker check, and that's going to give you information about registered representatives. And even if somebody is an investment advisor, and we'll get to the difference in a minute maybe, they will also identify those people and tell you that you can go and look at a different database to get information on the investment advisor. I'm going to have links to all of these resources in the description below, along with some other general retirement planning resources, so be sure to check all of that out. With Broker Check, you type in somebody's name, and then when they show up, you can click on more details to get a lot more information. Now, I'm not going to show any specific results here because there are some issues with the permitted use of this data. Don't want to ruffle any feathers, as well as privacy concerns. But the idea is that you will bring up an individual's record and then you'll look for disclosures. Now, disclosures don't necessarily mean the disclosures like a disclaimer like you'll see in this video when I say, do this at your own risk. But a disclosure is also an event that might have happened in this person's past that's required to be put in the public records. What you're really looking for here are any disciplinary actions, any regulatory actions. Did the regulators suspend this person, especially during recent years, for example? But keep in mind that the world is a complicated place. Things can happen and those can just end up on your disclosures. On one end of the spectrum, you might have somebody with a history of repeated fraud and theft, and that right there might be a deal breaker. But on a different end of the spectrum, you may have somebody who maybe they declared bankruptcy when they were 21. Maybe they were caregiving for a loved one, or they had their own issues. They just stopped working, stopped worrying about the bills. They were just taking care of grandma, and they never could recover. There are a lot of reasons why somebody might have a disclosure, and so you can dig into that sometimes and get more information. There may be some nuance, and of course, you can just ask the person if you still want to work with them and find out what they say about it. They are not unaware that this disclosure exists, so they will probably be happy to discuss it with you. Broker Check is a great place to start, but you might also want or need to look at IAPD. That is where you're going to find registered investment advisors. For example, my firm would be there. So you can look at people who are not part of a broker-dealer selling securities that way, but are maybe giving advice for fees instead of for commissions. Once again, the thing to do is to just keep clicking and digging and looking for any disclosures or any information that suggests you might want to hit the brakes and slow down a little bit. In addition to those regulatory databases, there are other groups that may have information on a financial advisor. So the CFP board, for example, will keep information on all of the CFP certificates. So if you're working with a certified financial planner professional, it's a good idea to go and look up their CFP record. First of all, make sure that they actually have the CFP designation, and then check to see if there's any additional information, like did the CFP board suspend them, or is anything else going on that you would want to know about. If it turns out that somebody doesn't show up in a database where you expected to find them, then that's a reason to do more research. And again, you can always just ask, why aren't you on broker check, for example, and they can explain what might be going on and where you can find other information about them. For example, insurance agents who do not have securities licenses will not appear on broker check or IAPD. Instead, they may appear in a state insurance agent database. And the easiest way to find that information is to Google your state and then insurance agent lookup or something like that. That will take you to your state's website, which should then offer resources on digging into the past of certain insurance agents. Once again, you want to make sure that they have a license, see if it's current, and then most states or databases, sometimes that's outsourced, are going to offer a way to find out about regulatory history, disciplinary actions, etc. Interviewing a potential financial advisor is a critical step. So this can also help you get great information about the person you might be working with. So ask them lots of questions. I've got lists of that on my website. I've got other videos out there. You can look all of that up. But the point is you want to, first of all, just get some general information to find out if you two are a fit, if it's going to be a good relationship, if they offer what it is you're looking for, and if you're the right type of client for what they typically do. But in addition to those fit questions, you might learn a thing or two about an advisor's character. So are they talking down to you? Are they dodging questions? Are they not telling you about how much you pay and that sort of thing? That may be interesting information for you. You also want to keep an eye out for any claims that are too good to be true. So if somebody's not giving you a realistic expectation of how things work, that could spell trouble down the road. And go ahead and Google your advisor and just look for any additional information that might be out there online. It's certainly a good idea to put the advisor's name next to legal or client complaint or regulatory action, fraud, for example. Those are things that you might Google next to the advisor's name and come up with some surprising results. So I hope you found that helpful. If you did, please leave a quick thumbs up, and you should have a video popping up about financial advisor costs so you know what to expect. I will see you over there.